things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Oh, there we go. I forgot to take that down. How are you, folks? Having yourself a reasonably good night, I trust. I'll take that off and make it a lot easier to see me. How are you? Struggling your way through it slowly but surely? I am. This ear has just gone completely deaf on me. I think my cold must be migrating. Maybe not to my ear. I would prefer that didn't happen. But I don't know how you blow your ear. I've been blowing my nose a lot lately, but yeah, blowing my ear, a little bit more difficult. Well, folks, if you missed out this morning, we had a little bit of a chat this morning as I drove to Brisbane and talked about a few things that are happening in the world, and we'll get back to a few of those things a little later in this show. I did catch up with the folks, the good folks at Ainsley Bullion today, which is wonderful, and caught up with one of you, the one of you who has been very generous in providing us the little bit of gold that we're going to be giving away every fifth draw in our lottery. Now, you can buy a ticket in the lottery for $2. It, at this point, stands to win you $750. We have a little over 300 tickets left to sell. And once we get draw number 4 out of the way, we are going to start throwing in a little bit of this. Oh, and you can't even see the gold. It goes right through it. But there you go. That's one of the things that I picked up today from Ainsley. And thank you. I don't want to mention their name. They don't want to be named. So thank you to one of you who donated what will be 5 grams of gold for this lottery. So thank you very much. Your generosity knows no bounds. What can I say? Thank you so much. And thank you from those who will receive these little bits of gold for entering into our lottery. It's pretty easy to do, folks. merch.vofhq.com and click on the Sanctuary 750 link at the top of that page. It'll take you over, and all you've got to do is fork out $2 for a ticket. You can buy up to 20 tickets in the draw. And like I say, we've got about 300 left to go, a little over 300 left to go. And if we can knock those out this week, that would be amazing. We'll be able to help the Donkey Sanctuary with another bale of hay or a few more hooves being cleaned. And then we will get into draw number 5, where you get to not only take home $750, but there will be a gram of gold up for grabs as well. Now, there is also some exciting news coming. Well, we'll probably talk more about that next week, but there might be a little bit of silver coming your way too in other prizes. So I just wanted to thank the folks who have helped out in the lottery. Thank you very, very much. And I got a hell of a surprise today when I turned up at Ainsley, and somebody came up to me in the office and said, "Oh, by the way, Carl, this was left for you." In fact, there were 2 of these left for me. Craig, I want to thank you. Thank you so much. These are these new Perth Mint Chinese Dragon square coins. I don't know if you can see them or not. Ainsley have them on their website. They are a beautiful, beautiful, stunning coin. And you can see on the back the Perth Mint's stamp and associated other bits and pieces there. So thank you, Craig, for that. And then on my way home, I get notified that there is some mail waiting for me at the post office. And what turns up but my new Bible? And this has come through Black Sheep, who is a marvelous man, knows his Bibles, can I tell you? And this is the Bible to have. Shall I hold it up for you? So this is just a magnificent book. And the best part about it is, I don't know if I can show this to you, but the words are actually large enough for me to read. So watch this space. There'll be a little bit coming that way. And then I found what, I've got to say I was a bit surprised, but I found what is probably not the best bookmark for a Bible, because I've been marking pages since I've picked it up this afternoon, and I've been trying to mark them with what else Black Sheep sent me. So thank you, brother. That's a little koala coin. So boy, have I had a day. I've picked up 3 ounces. So thank you to everybody who has generously offered me a little bit of silver, but more particularly offered you guys the chance at gold. And I can't thank you all enough for that support. It's quite humbling when you walk into somewhere like Ainsley and you're greeted by a couple of guys who say, "Oh, listen, somebody dropped this off for you." So, Craig, for you and the 2 of those that you dropped off, thank you, mate. I'm just blown away by your generosity, and I'm speechless. I don't know what to say, but thank you. All right, let's move on. I've got to say, this ear is getting worse and worse as I keep going on. I'm practically completely deaf now in this ear. It's very strange. What was first in the house tonight? Looking forward to catching up with you soon, buddy. Hello, Donna. She was second in the house, and God, love it. Sunflower, always close. Always close. Lovely to have you in too. I see the lovely Michelle Bradley Smith is in, Margot is in, and Sandy is back in her wellies, waddling around the donkey sanctuary because right now they're underwater again. They have been able to get out today. That's been one thing, but the paddocks, for the most part, are pretty sodden. Thankfully, they're on a bit of a lean, so it'll be the low paddocks that are holding the water, I hope, and not necessarily the high ones. But she does have 100 donkeys. Whether or not they're still undercover at the moment, I guess it depends on how much rain is still coming through New South Wales. But Sandy, I hope that things clear up there for you very soon, and all the donkeys' hooves stay dry, so to speak. Harm, nice to have you in, mate. Been a while since I've caught up with you. Got to give you a call soon. The lovely Connie and Alan, I hope you guys are doing well. Andrew, good to have you in too. And, oh, look who's popped his head in tonight, the magnificent Vincenzo. And we do have something rather special to share with you, which I hope to be able to do with you. What's today? Tuesday. I hope to be able to do that Thursday night with you. Vince has been working extremely hard. He has not done a great deal of sleeping. He's been working very hard on something over the weekend, and we hope to be able to bring you pictures and details of that on Thursday. And Vince, that's probably me flagging you to be on the show Thursday, just in case you hadn't picked up. G'day, Daniel. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Bazza, good to have you in. Aussie Sue, as always. I hope the island is treating you well. Andrew Barker. We've got a few Andrews in tonight. G'day, Katrina. And Daniel, nice to have you in the house, Daniel. I hope Canberra is not too bloody cold, although I believe it has been recently. But anyway, g'day, Paul. Hope you're doing well, mate. I didn't see you in there today, but the Ainsley folks do talk about you with high regard, can I just say. Who else have I not said hello to? G'day, Anne. Nice to have you in. Ads and the rest of the crew. Ian, I think I said hello to Margot. G'day, Denise. Anyway, you're all in. Lovely to see you in, folks. Beautiful to have you here. And I don't think I've seen too many questions popping up. Well, there you go. There's a plug. Thanks, Darren. Ainsley Bullion are at My Place Frankston tomorrow night, 7 p.m. If you haven't been to My Place Frankston, I urge you to go along and check it out. Marvelous place, and the birthplace, if you like, of the My Place movement. So My Place Frankston tomorrow night, Ainsley Bullion putting on one of their seminars there. Rob and the crew from the Ainsley Melbourne office will be there, no doubt. There is a chance that one of the guys from Brisbane will be, although I didn't catch up with Michael today. He was down checking out the new Ainsley Bullion office on the Gold Coast and signing off on it, making sure that it's all ready for the big opening, which I think the hard opening happens next week, Monday, but we will be there for the opening on Friday night. So be prepared. Friday night, there may not be a full show as such. What we will do is on the VOF channel. So let me just go and help him. Let me just go and find that VOF channel so that I can post it in the links, because as we are starting to discover, a lot of people are subscribed to any number of Voice of Freedom channels, but we do have a main channel And that is where, if you didn't see my live today coming off my phone, that's the channel that goes on. And I'm going to post that up into the chat right now. If you haven't gone and subscribed to that channel, the one I've just posted up in the chat, then please do, because that's our main channel. And if you want notifications turned on when I grab a hold of the phone and do something in the mornings, which is usually off the phone because I'm traveling, then that'll be the only way that you see it or hear about it at all. If you are watching any of the other channels, you don't get any notification of that one. So keep that one in mind, folks. And if you haven't already subscribed to it, please go and subscribe. It will be a big help to us, and it's a huge kick in the nuts to the algorithm. And God knows we would like to be kicking them. The donkey pack has arrived at Connie's place, and Alan has claimed the donkey socks. Good on you, mate. Well done. They're bloody nice socks, aren't they? Yep, the donkey pack comes out with, well, at the moment, every winner. I'm pretty sure Sandy will do it for this round too. And if you weren't really sure about what was in the donkey pack, then go back and have a look at the chat I had with Sandy last week, and you will be able to see exactly what's in that donkey pack. Although it does change slightly. She changes it up occasionally. So, yeah. Okay. I think I've got through all of the things. Somebody didn't get a link. Redneck, what link didn't you get? The link to the channel? I'll paste it in there again, if that helps. So all it is youtube.com/the @VOF. If you're wondering and you can't see it in the chat or whatever, it's youtube.com/VOF. And that is our main channel. Sorry, disregard. All right. No worries, Redneck. Glad you got it. All right. Let's get into the pictures and the storytelling for tonight. It could be a little bit of fun. There is only a little bit going on after all. Let's start in what should be a fairly obvious part of the world. Dan Bongino likes Australia, but he is laughing his ass off at us at the moment. And why the hell wouldn't you, when you've got a numpty like that fool of a woman running Victoria at the moment? When I say running Victoria, I mean running Victoria into the ground. Now, they've banned guns in Australia. Yip, yahoo. Victoria are now banning machetes. As of the 1st of September, you will not be able to own or possess a machete in Victoria. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how responsible you may have been with a machete that's been in your possession, maybe in your family, your whole friggin' life. No, it doesn't matter. Because the pissweak Victorian police are unable to catch criminals wielding machetes. How pathetic. Seriously, Victorians, you must stand up and throw this mad bitch and everyone associated with her out of that parliament, and you've got to get your police force cleaned out. The level of stupidity in Victoria surely must be waking up the terminally dead there. If you cannot see what's happening to your state now, then I guess there's no hope for you. And those of you who can see, get the hell out, because you are not going to get any support from the brain-dead zombies that are walking the streets of Victoria. And yes, some of them are whining about Jacinta Allen. Oh, nothing we can do about it, though. Bullshit. Bullshit. There is nothing you can do about it. We the people are the strongest people, the strongest movement, not just in Australia, in the world. Find like-minded people and begin pushing back. Now, does that mean you go out and you protest? Well, if you go out and protest, Arvy's probably going to turn up at you. He'll probably find, some black guy wearing a shirt he doesn't like and then create a narrative around that, as Arvy is very good at doing. He creates narratives. He tells lies. And I think Blake Cottrell has released a video outlining the little stunt that Arvy pulled in Melbourne with Nick Patterson last weekend. It's a very, very good breakdown. A very good breakdown. I think it's Blake that did it. I'm not sure. he points out a lot of things that people ordinarily may not see if you're not looking or not watching or not paying bloody attention. And it's very interesting when you watch this and you see it all play out, playing Avi's video, just how correct some of the things that Blake is saying might be. Worthwhile going and checking out. I haven't got a link to it, but it is posted in Telegram. And what I might do is throw it up on my Telegram channels, and you can go and have a bit of a look in there later on. But what is happening in Victoria at the moment is I am praying that this madness with the mad cow running that state and the mad bastard that was running the state before the mad cow, I'm hoping that many hitherto unawake Victorians are starting to wake up. I've been making excuses forever for people not waking up. Oh, well, you know, they'll wake up eventually. There's more things have got to happen. It's going to get a hell of a lot worse before it gets better, folks. And it's got to get a hell of a lot worse before these morons who've swallowed the jab either shuffle off this mortal coil or go full-term zombie. And it is going to happen. Craziness being bred in Victoria. You could not be more communist in this country than being a Labor supporter in Victoria. Well, you probably could. You could be a federal Labor supporter. You remember, Anthony Albanese came from the far left of the Labor Party. What is the far left of the Labor Party? Well, the far left of the Labor Party is as close to communism as you can get. As close to communism as you can get. The Fabian Society. How many Fabians have we had lead this country? The red-headed clown, she was a Fabian. This mealy-mouthed muppet that's currently running the country, he's a Fabian. The truly diabolically communist left. And that's who we currently have running the country. Do we think that's going well, folks? Okay. We've discovered that our elections may not be as trustworthy as we had hoped. What are we going to do about it? Well, there seems to be a lot going on in America about it, and we'll get more to that in a minute, but I've got to be honest, the time frame doesn't really help. Here's another piece of bullshit going on in Victoria. Now, the Victorian government has a secret plan to shut down Cook's Cottage. Now, if you're unaware, you've never been to Melbourne and seen the sights, there is a beautiful set of gardens in the heart of Melbourne called the Fitzroy Gardens. And in the Fitzroy Gardens is Captain Cook's Cottage. Yes, they pulled it apart, piece by brick by block, in England, and transported it to Melbourne, where they set it up in the gardens. I've been to it a number of times. In fact, I think probably the first time I ever went to Cook's Cottage was when I was in primary school, and we went to Melbourne for a school trip. I've probably been there maybe half a dozen or more times over the years. It never ceases to amaze me how small it is, how small the house is, how low the doors are. It's almost like living in a ship. But the Victorian government doesn't want people to go and check out what has been one of the top tourist destinations of Melbourne for many, many years. And they're secretly planning to remove it. Why? Well, because they feel that having Captain Cook's house in the Fitzroy Gardens might upset some of our Indigenous brothers and sisters. It might upset some of the new Australians coming here. Who gives a fuck? If they don't like it when they get here, get back on the plane and go back home or go somewhere else. Don't come here and change Australia. But that is exactly what is being changed. Australia is being changed from the roots up. And we're an apathetic bunch of bastards who just say, oh, what can we do about it? How long are you going to sit there and say that? Because one day you're going to wake up and say, oh, we should have done something about that. That'll be when the coppers are knocking on your door. They're taking your silver and your gold and they're locking you up because you said something you shouldn't have, or you thought something you shouldn't have. It's coming. Make no doubt about it. And I'll give you another little tip about something that is coming and that the Australian government is heavily involved in. And this is an Australian company owned by a Jewish guy. What a surprise. It's called AU10 Ticks. AU, the number 10, Ticks, TIX.com. Go and have a look at that. I won't play it here. They'll probably jab me for copyright on music. But go and have a look at that website. Now, this Jewish man has created a business worth over $300 million. And what does he do? He helps AI. He helps Google come and secure, make sure you're secure, make sure you are who you are. They have put together a anti-fraud re-identification program. What this is digital ID. And if you go and have a look on their website, you will find a video on the front of it that will explain just how easy and wonderful this is all going to be. To have everything in your phone, to have, you know, your whole life able to be just beeped as you step into the door of a pub or a club or anywhere. That's the plan. You will need to beep into everywhere you go. You will need to be re-identified, as they call it, and that's what this AU10 Tick software does. Australian company, Jewish guy, making a mozza, don't they all? And doing so on the back of our information, our privacy. Another Victorian-based company too, I think, just between you, me, and the Gatepost. The filth that is Victoria. I don't know, folks. I don't know. I was talking about this to someone the other day. We are so apathetic. We could get, according to some people, 100,000 people who aren't necessarily Australians crossing the Sydney Harbour Bridge, waving their terrorism flags, waving their Jewish anti-Semitic flags. Can't say that I blame them in many cases. But the fact is, we had 100,000 people turn out for the people in Gaza. And yet in Melbourne, for a rally for child protection, trying to protect our children from the filth, trying to protect our children from those who would say they are their protectors, that rally about child sexual abuse attracted 100 people. What does that say to you about the people we're importing into this country at the moment? It doesn't really matter from what country, although predominantly, if you have a look at the Sydney Harbour Bridge last weekend, you'll understand where they're coming from. They're motivated. They get out. They can put 100,000 people on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. We can't get 100 to turn up to a rally about the abuse suffered by our children, the dangers through the Victorian welfare system in particular. The Victorian welfare system that gets no help from that two-headed ghoul, Jacinta Allen, running the state, who has blocked legislation that would aid those who would protect the children. But oh no, the last thing that Labor wants is that. So we can get 100,000 ring-ins, 100,000 people who do not think as much of Australia as they do about the country that they left, or that they consider to be their homeland. They may have been born here, but they consider themselves to be Palestinian or whatever. I don't really give a what flavour it is. It simply demonstrates that we, white Australians, are so apathetic, so she'll be right. Oh, I couldn't be bothered walking. I'll just go to the pub and watch it on telly. We're not going to have our country. In 20 years, I was thinking about it today on the drive back. I was thinking back 20 years and what's changed in the last 20 years. So much and so quickly. What's it going to be in another 20? It won't be the Australia we know. And yes, Australia is going to have to evolve. But what is it evolving into at this juncture? At this juncture, it's evolving into a country that cannot be trusted with guns or knives. Now, you and I have been around guns and knives all our life, and most of us haven't wanted to take them to the streets, create carnage. But now we have a number of Africans and other nations who have arrived here, and machetes are the weapon of choice through Africa. They must have thought their Christmases had come at once when they get here and find a selection starting at $19.95 and working their way up to a couple of $100. I don't think they're paying for them. I think they're stealing them in the most cases. But they won't be able to steal them now either because they've been taken off the shelves. And if you get caught with one, you are going to be in all sorts of shit. I don't know how that works for travellers, because there are plenty of people who travel through Victoria that may have a machete because they camp off-grid and use it for wood and creating kindling and all sorts of other bits and pieces. What's the problem with having a machete? I'm able to have a tomahawk. I'm able to have an axe. Did you know I can throw an axe and have the head hit what I want it to hit? Could probably do the same with a hammer. A little bit of weight in the hammerhead does a lot of damage. How long before they start taking those off us? Because these imports have decided, well, if I can't have the machete as a weapon, I'm going to take this big, 1 kilo claw hammer or 2 kilo claw hammer. See what damage I can do with that. Where are our police? Where are the Victorian police? Well, I know what they're doing. They're out doing bullshit, trying to catch people who aren't harming anyone, who are causing no loss or damage. But oh no, they're out there raising revenue and trying to stitch Victorians up every day. If you were ever considering a career in the police force, if your young people in your home are considering a career in the police force, turn them off it. Turn them away from it immediately. It's going to be too dangerous. Our police force is going to be taken over by internationals, by people who have come to this country, have yet to gain any kind of citizenship recognition, but will be allowed to don a uniform and be given authority over us. The day that comes to me is probably going to be a bad day. Probably for me, but it's going to be a bad day. I'm not going to deal well with that sort of lack of respect for the Australian people. And that's what it is, folks. It's a lack of respect for we the people. Governments, all states and nationally, don't give a hoot about us. They do not care. The communist Albanese government wants you to be on the state tit for the rest of your life. They do not want you to own a house. They do not want you to own a car. They want you to be completely beholden to the state. And if you've ever been to a communist country, and I have spent time in what was East Germany, it wouldn't have got more communist at the time. And I can tell you that a communist country, an East German communist country, was like living and looking at the world in black and white. Steam trains, cobblestones. People still, well, maybe a European thing, but still, people still breeding rabbits in hutches so that they could have a rabbit and meat to eat. I remember lining up for bread and milk with my grandmother every morning. And by 9 o'clock in the morning, there was nothing left in those shops. I remember my uncle having to wait 9 years because somebody backed into his car and put a dent in the rear quarter panel of it. And yes, he had a Trabant. Now, Trabants are great little cars. Well, Trabants are cars. the whole thing being with the communist car maker, the Trabant, was that it was going to be the people's car. It was going to be so easy. You wouldn't have to pay for the car. You'd be given a car. And if you have an accident, the panels were all made of fiberglass. So you could go to your local Trabant shop in the town and get a new panel for your car. And it wouldn't be the same color, but you'd get a panel for your car and stick it on. Or at least that was the communist plan. Everybody embraced that, not that they had much choice. And then my uncle had an accident. Somebody backed into his car. He needed a new rear quarter panel. 9 years it took to get it. 9 years. Now, of course, there is no communist East Germany anymore. It's now just Germany. But you'd have to ask yourself, there have been many, many strange influences, including Angela Merkel, who spent a very, very long time at the head of the German Chancellery. And, of course, if you know your history and go back through her family tree, you might be a little bit surprised that she appears to be related to Adolf Hitler. Very closely related to Adolf Hitler, along with two other women around her same age. One, Theresa May, who wound up being the Prime Minister of England, and another one who I think became the Prime Minister of Holland. So, curiouser and curiouser. There are weird things coming, and I'm sure there are much weirder ones on the way. Here's a weird thing. This bloke, Kershaw, the AFP commissioner, has mysteriously retired. Now, there's been an awful lot going on with the AFP. The AFP are under a lot of pressure. And it's not because of people turning up on the streets in Canberra and waving placards. It's because of the lies and deceit that has been practiced from the top down of the AFP. And this Kershaw bastard was one of those, making sure that everybody who came to Canberra a couple of years ago got charged with something. If you stuck your head up, you were hit as hard as they could possibly hit to charge you with as many things as possible, to take as much money from you, to deprive you of your liberty for as long as possible, and to try and get you to shut up, to turn around, to walk away. And thankfully, the Canberra Standers, Dan and co, never gave up. Boy, God, they got a list of charges thrown against them, though. Pages and pages and pages of them. They fought everyone and won quite a few. And that's the interesting thing. Now, a lot of these cases, and I'm not going to speak directly to Paul Offey's case, the Frweedom truck driver, because it is still before the court. But I can tell you the absolute bullshit that the AFP are carrying on with behind the scenes, particularly with Paul's case, but there are other cases they are doing the same thing with. Now, the reason that they are being like this is because they know they're wrong. They know they don't have a leg to stand on. And in Paul's case, they know that should he be found not guilty, and there is a very good chance he won't be found anything like guilty once we provide the evidence in his trial, I don't think there would be a fair jury in this country that would ever convict him. But then again, this jury will be sourced and based out of Canberra. And that puts a different complexion on things, because people in Canberra, some of them are quite awake, but they don't live in Canberra. They live out of Canberra. I've not met too many people who live in Canberra that are awake. Mary Jane, Cass, there's a few, but by and far, very, very, very few. So the AFP are going their hardest to try and hurt everybody that they were able to get a ticket on and try and keep up the rest of their investigations happening around the country. And I'm sure there are many of them. The new police commissioner is this woman. She might look a little bit familiar to you. She was the one that came out and gave all the excuses for the caravan full of explosives that sat on the side of a Sydney road for God knows how long, some weeks, that the AFP knew about. They knew it was there. They knew what was in it. But they let the story go that it was going to be a bomb to blow up a Jewish synagogue. Remember the newspapers. This is the bomb blast radius. If this had have gone off at this mosque, or this, what do they call them? Synagogue, it would kill however many people. It'd leave a crater of 40 meters across, all this shit about it supposedly being a Jewish plot to blow up a Jewish synagogue. Absolute lies, but played out by the Albanese government, who knew different. They knew the truth. And this woman, they decided to put her out the front to take the blame and tell everybody what was going on. Well, now she must have really impressed the bosses with that, because now she takes over this bloke's place, and where this bloke goes, who knows? Gitmo with a bit of luck, although I don't think we're sending ours to Gitmo. I think they're going to Guam. But Guam's only a little place. What else is going on in Victoria? Oh, yes. The anti-Semitism laws in Victoria. I'm sorry Victoria is starring tonight, but that should tell you something, folks. Victoria are leading the way in bastardry in this country, and they are trying to show the way to the other states. And if they can make this work with the Victorian population, then they can make it work in any other state. That's their thought, anyway. We can't let that happen. We cannot let it happen. But thankfully, these new racial vilification laws in Victoria are just so badly put together. They are having very little effect. In fact, they are being termed a catastrophic failure. Well, that's because you're trying to impede free speech. The Jews don't like it when you talk about them, unless you're saying nice things and how wonderful they are. And look, there are wonderful and nice Jews. I'm 100% sure of it. I know quite a number of them. But then there are Zionists, and then there are those who do not follow the Torah at all. They follow the Talmud, and that is a whole different ballgame. They are not Jews, all right? Benjamin Netanyahu and his bunch of ghouls running Israel at the moment are not Jews. They are Khazarians, and that's a lot different. They stole the Jewish religion, they stole the Jewish name, and they have perverted it over the years. Just go and ask any Jew you know, what book do you read, the Torah or the Talmud? If they believe the Talmud, you know where you stand. You are goyim. You are less than cattle. Never, ever forget that. Because they don't. And the people who are running this world would like to see we the goyim herded up and slaughtered. Because that's all we're worth. If you listen to the old Rabbi Finkelstein, I think his name was, I will play that again one night. The good rabbi on a phone conversation discussing exactly what they are doing to we the goyim, how they feed us to ourselves in hamburger mince and sausage. Yeah, true. That's why you don't see me at McDonald's too often. But there is more coming. More coming. And there are many disturbing things that are happening in this country. I was speaking the other day with somebody about Julian Assange, and we were discussing the fact that he has been very quiet since his release. And I think that was part of his release, a condition of his release, that he didn't become an influencer, so to speak. And I don't think that that would be something Julian would be interested in anyway. However, what they did want him to do is to stop talking. They didn't want him to be talking WikiLeaks. They didn't want him to be coming back and rehashing what has already been put through WikiLeaks and what has already been posted. And yet, on Sunday, or the day of the march, we see him walking with this absolute piece of shit, Bob Carr. Now, Bob Carr was behind the scenes in things going on with Julian Assange. I think he was Kevin Mann's boot boy, because he'd been sucking on Kevin for quite a while. And that's why we were able to see Kevin Rudd turning up at all the appropriate times. Kevin Rudd on the flight that took Assange out of the UK, but also on that flight was that bastard Bob Carr. Now, if they're going to replace all the main players in politics with, masks or copies, they would have done it to Julian Assange, wouldn't they? Julian Assange being seen happy smiley with Bob Carr walking across the bridge as part of his little entourage, I would have thought would be pretty opposite to what we would have thought from Assange while he was incarcerated, and whether or not he'd have anything to do with these people. Now, okay, he's been incarcerated for a long time. If he really was in Belmarsh, then not a nice place to be. And I guess if Bob Carr was turning up and making representations on his behalf, I guess you probably owe him something, don't you? But has Assange sold out? Assange essentially has already done his job. There is nothing left for him to do. The WikiLeaks trove is opened. We know everything in it. Well, if you've ever decided you wanted to go through it all and read, and it's not easy reading, folks. It's not easy to go through. Thankfully, there are now some databases which make it a lot easier to search, but it isn't easy to read, because it's essentially a whole bunch of emails that, you open up a folder, start at the top and read your way through, and you may or may not get them in order. You've sort of got to try and piece it all together. Nothing is easy about what he's put out. However, that's all factual. And now, what are we left to do with that? Well, I think there is a lot more in the WikiLeaks files that we have forgotten about, that we should never have forgotten about. And for those folks who have access to them, I would commend you to go back in and have another look. Remind us of what we are forgetting, because there has been so much in the last 4 or 5 years, so much, and so many different levels of it, that we forget. We forget. And we're working on something here at the moment that will help you remember. And, well, I hope it does help you remember. Do you know Vincent Kennedy? Vincent Kennedy is one of the Kennedys, and he has been throwing out quantum information and crypto information now for a couple of years. He has been particularly effervescent in his speaking of the quantum financial system, or the quantum system. Now, he's put out this post, as you can see circled there. Need to try it again. Quantum warp set for Tuesday, the 5th of August. So we are just coming into Tuesday, the 5th of August, US time now. And that might mean that tomorrow holds, well, let's be honest, tomorrow will probably only hold a few new headlines. I don't know how much more it will bring, but the headlines that are coming out from today are exceptional. And I don't think that this is nearly the joke that it's meant to be. There has been developments in the Seth Rogen case. Now, you might remember Seth Rich. You might remember Seth Rich was a DNC operative. He was working for Hillary Clinton's mob with Wasserman Schultz, Debbie Wasserman Schultz at the time. Now, Seth Rich had access to the entire DNC computer system, and it is believed that he is the one that sent all of that treasure trove of information through to WikiLeaks, through to Julian Assange. And in fact, Assange came out and offered, I think it was $20,000 to find the killers of Seth Rich, because, well, I think he eventually came out and confirmed that Sethridge was the man who provided all of the DNC data that WikiLeaks released, and that sent Hillary Clinton right off her chops because it made it very clear she was using an unauthorized, unprotected email server based out of her own home. And there is more coming on that, a lot more. Also, George Soros. Now, I'm not sure if old George is actually still alive. I'm sure they've got him in a machine somewhere, but his son is running the business these days. His son has been involved in the business for the better part of the last 10 years, so I would be surprised if his son doesn't get tarred in this as well. But these declassified documents that have been released implicate Soros and others in the Russiagate disaster. And Tulsi Gabbard's very, very instructive release of last week has now been taken up by the Department of Justice in America, and Pam Bondi has come out and stated that an inquiry into Obama and his upper echelon of folks, including Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Comey, McCann, and I've forgotten one or two more. Anyway, all of those big names through that period are heavily involved, and all of the files are going to be publicly released. The DOJ will only release those after they have, I suppose, charged and been through some kind of trial. Now, it seems like Pam Bondi has said, while an investigation is being started into all of this, it will be a little while before any kind of grand jury indictment is processed, because they have to investigate what's happened. It's pretty simple, the investigation. You've probably seen it praised by many others already, but the short story of it is Obama, along with his upper echelon of intelligence apparatchiks, decided that they would start the Russiagate, push the Russiagate, and pump it deeply into mainstream media, who, controlled by Obama, happily regurgitated the lies and the propaganda that they were pushing out. Now, that lasted not just in the lead up to or early times of the election campaign. It has stretched its way through the entire first presidency of Trump, from 2016 to 2020. All they did that whole time was try and tear him down. The two impeachments that failed were always going to fail because they had no evidence. But all of that, and we spoke about it at the time, saying they are creating precedent here for themselves, these dumb Democrats. They do not understand the plan or the plot that which they lay will only catch them. I don't know how the DNC, Labor works the same way. They seem to attract the least intelligent of any community, the left. And then there are some who are a bit smarter and go to the left because they realize the bulk of the people in the left aren't terribly smart and they will believe what they're told. And so these manipulators work their way into the government or to other controlling interests in our nation from the left. And they work to deliver their utopia, a communist utopia. And how are they going to deliver us to a communist utopia? They are going to flood us with people from overseas. They are going to take the white out of white Australia and they're going to breed it out of us. And it will only take a generation or two. Australia will be a brown country going forward. That is their plan. Now, do you want to fight for that? Do you want to fight to keep Australia the way we like it? Do you? Do you understand what fighting for it really means? Some of you, like me, might be a bit past going and having kids now. But go and encourage your kids to have them. And if you happen to have a daughter who comes home pregnant, congratulate her. Don't yell at her. because we need it. Our birth rate, the white Australia birth rate, is non-existent by comparison to the many other nations that are flooding into this country. And bear in mind, these nations that are flooding into this country are being granted permission to bring relatives from their home country back here to live permanently, because it's such a great country, isn't it? Can't carry a machete, can't use a machete, can't have a gun, not easily, can't protect yourself, and if you look like you're going to, you will be shut down. Just disgusting what they're doing to this country, folks. And you're sitting there saying, yeah, it is, Carl. Bloody disgusting. What's your suggestion about what we can do about it? Will you email it to me? carl@vofhq.com. I want to get a whole bunch of suggestions together and see what we can come up with. I guess one of the things that we can hope going forward is that while those of us who believe we are watching a movie are seeing it for what it is, and here is an example for what it is. This is just a small portion of the deep state that has already been removed or died naturally, depending on your point of view. Charles, of course, very rarely seen these days. They're talking about him dying. William is talking about modifying the royalty all over again. Oh, and speaking of interesting royal things, let me see if I can just find these. There we go. Oops, that's not, oh, wrong thing. Right, there has been a rather interesting change in what's going on with our defence forces. Now, I'll have another go at trying to upload these things. Where are we? There. All right. Our defence forces have had a change of emblem. Now, this occurred on the 1st of August, and I thought, well, that's interesting. How long have we had these emblems, and why are they all changing? For what possible reason would they change? Here is the new emblem for the Royal Australian Navy. Looks lovely, doesn't it? Oops. Well, I might have just killed myself there, have I? Yes, I have. Oh, no, I'm back. So that is the Royal Australian Navy. They have a new emblem. Ta-da! Congratulations. This is the new Army's versions. There are a number of them for the different areas of Army. And this is a Royal Air Force, Australian Air Force badge. You might say to yourself, what's changed? Why have they updated it? What's going on different there? Well, they've changed it to reflect a new monarch, the reign of a new king, that being Charlie. But what I've noticed, and what you may have noticed, is the shape of the crown. Charles has not decided to use the Catholic crown, the St. Edward's crown. His mother had the St. Edward's crown, and I want to believe her father, George, used the St. Edward's crown as well. This particular crown, with the hoop on the top of it, is called a Tudor crown and was first used by Henry VII or Henry VIII. I want to say Henry VIII. Now, why was it created? Why was a new crown created? Well, because the St. Edward's crown was the Catholic crown, a Vatican crown. And when Henry VIII severed relations from England or the British Empire to the Vatican and created the Church of England, because the Catholics wouldn't give him a divorce, he created the Tudor crown. That meant a break, a complete break from the Roman Catholic crown. Yeah? You understanding that? So now the question is, why is Charles using that crown? It's rather interesting, don't you think? One of those little changes that we see, if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, and a little bit of knowledge in the background. And that little bit of knowledge would have come if you'd watched our Magna Carta sessions, which is still available on the YouTube channel. Some of the first stuff that we ever did here. There's 30 episodes on Magna Carta. I urge you, you won't learn everything about it in those 30, but I urge you to go and have a look at those, because they will teach you a huge amount, give you a voluminous knowledge, if you like, on the subject, and one you will be able to put into action. But if you don't understand the difference between the two crowns and what significance this particular crown might have for us going forward, then you're not as awake as you think you are. Please do a little bit more research. And I've had somebody else talk to me today, and I've been going for a while now, so I'll shut up soon. I've had someone else talk to me, not today, it was yesterday, about doing more research and showing you more research and all that. I've been struggling, some of you may know or have noticed, I've been struggling for the last month or so. One of the things I struggle with is that very point. I want people to learn. I want people to understand. I want people to know. However, I can't sit here and tell you everything. It doesn't sink in. If I say something, and probably not to this audience, but to the externals that might watch this and don't know the history of this program, I can't teach you. Nobody can teach you. You, if you don't believe what we're saying, you need to go and prove us wrong. And that requires research. Or, like good most apathetic Australians, you don't care to prove us wrong. You think you're right, and that'll be just it. I'm too lazy. I'm going to the pub. That will be the downfall of this country. I'm dying for someone to come and prove me wrong. Dying. Please come and prove me wrong. I beg you, come and prove me wrong. But nobody's been able to do it. And those that have tried, to their credit, have actually done the research themselves, because there's no point in me handing over what I've done, because you're not learning anything. You're not making discoveries. All you're seeing are the discoveries I've made or the links that I've made. And that's not learning. We can't get out of this by copying somebody else's work. We have to have inner knowledge, inner strength, inner standing. That means we've all got to do our best to try and drum some of this into those that are less awake. Now, should we try and drum this into them being less awake? Or should we initially just start having a conversation so that this can be done in friendship? And it is very possible to do around a bunch of strangers. I do it quite regularly. And it's simply asking questions. Do you think that's right? Do you think the government should be allowed to do that? Can you point to the law that says they're allowed to do that? And yeah, it requires a little bit of research. And yes, we're all very busy. And we're all going to be very dead very soon, unless we get off our asses and learn. We're all waiting to be elevated to this next level of consciousness. How do you think we're going to do that if you're not prepared to get off your ass and learn? Now, I know I'm preaching to the converted here, but I'm trying to, and I don't think I'm doing a very good job, I'm trying to find a way to help you motivate others around you who aren't as well versed maybe as you and I. Not in an aggressive way, not in a pejorative way, but in a welcoming friendship way, an educational way. And at the end of the day, all we can do is show people, line up all the dots, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and let them read it. Or better still, let them cross the T's and dot the I's and then read it. because that is the only way they're going to wake up. But we have to be able to deliver it to them in nice little bite-sized bits where they can have that 30-second brain fart and go, oh, I'll find out what that's about. Because that's all we get. Me talking to you for an hour is one thing. But to a newbie, I get 30 seconds. I get 30 seconds to hook them, get 30 seconds to get a question out of them, get 30 seconds to try and open up a doorway into them where they will see and start questioning some of the things that they're shown. That's all we can hope for, I think, at the moment. If there is a better way, please let me know. Email me, carl@vofhq.com. Greg, I got your email. I've got a heap of emails over the last 2 days from people who've sent me so much stuff to watch. And I didn't get to any of it today. I did watch a bit of it yesterday. I want to thank you all for what you're doing there, putting that sort of stuff in for me. It does make me quite humble when I see so much information coming from so many different areas. And in fact, the gentleman that I had lunch with today has sent me some really interesting stuff that's coming out of Ukraine at the moment. I plan on having a look at that through tonight, and we may well talk about that tomorrow. It's just theatre, folks. It's just theatre. I mean, the theatre might have a very bad ending for us all, or it could have a very good ending. Who knows? Tomorrow morning when we wake up, the world could change. The 5th is supposedly a trigger date, but then the 8th, Friday, is Lionsgate. Lionsgate, the spiritual awakening, the biggest we've ever had, apparently. So Friday, the 8th of August, is a date that has been touted now for a couple of years. The 5th is, well, I only really heard about the significance of the 5th yesterday or the day before. And, well, let's see what happens overnight, shall we? But there are increments. It's great to see that Pam Bondi has released news, and that might have been this morning, their time, like released on the 5th, that an investigation is starting into Obama and his cohorts. That's going to create a ruction inside the US. It is going to send the DNC, the Democrats, into apoplexy. Just wait for the screaming. The next few days should be very, very, very interesting. Just as well I won't be on the roads. I'm going to stay here and avoid the dickheads. I suggest you do the same. Let's talk tomorrow, hey?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!